Evening, everyone. This is the Littleton Community Preservation Committee meeting of July 15th, 2026 at 7:02. We'll get started. We have in the room with us Mitt Wanzer, Linda Stein, Carolyn Mueller, and Rob Brownts, and remotely Bartlett Harvey and Sanjay Gowda. So we do have a quorum. Let's see. So agenda, we have a few things to talk about, more just discussion than any kind of decision making, but just it's the beginning of a new season. So here we go. The first thing we have to do is elect committee officers, president, chair, vice chair, and a clerk. I'm happy to step aside if somebody else would like to take turn.
I would nominate Carolyn Mueller to be chair.
Second.
Any discussion? I will accept for one more year. We'll have to do a roll call because we have some remote people. Mitt?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Carolyn is a yes. Rob?
Yes.
Bartlett?
I can see.
Yes.
Oh, there he is.
Nodding.
Yeah, I think. And Sanjay?
I
I
said
see
yes. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, you were frozen for a minute. And Sanjay raised his hand.
Raised his hand.
Yeah, Sanjay, I think you're still not a panelist. Did I do it right? Let's see.
Click that, allow to talk.
Promote to panelists
Oh, nice.
and allow to talk. Oh, yeah, he'll rejoin and then come back in.
Yes.
Yeah, yay!
Resounding yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Chair. And then vice chair has been Andrew. Unless somebody else would like a turn to,
Can we vote on it even if he's not here?
yeah, just, right?
I'll nominate myself as vice chair because we don't need a clerk anymore.
Okay.
I second that.
We have a first and a second to nominate Mitt as vice chair. Mitt?
Well, I would like to just say before voting that on any given Wednesday, I could make myself available if it would help planning meetings to see you
Okay.
at the Historical Society. You're already there
Okay.
on days.
Yep.
I get through work at 4 and it'd be like, okay, Carolyn, what can I do to
Put our
help?
heads together. Sounds good.
Okay, so I commit to that. Yes.
Okay. Linda?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Rob?
Yes.
Bartlett? I think Bartlett's in another.
Yes.
Yes, and Sanjay?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I heard Dan. Okay. I think Bartlett's traveling today,
Oh.
so. And then it's true, I mean, we've been doing the minutes via AI, which have been great, but
I think we should have a clerk just in
Yeah.
case, because
Yeah.
sometimes there's been problems with
Yeah.
recording just once in a while.
and I suppose there are other clerical duties that could possibly come up. I mean, it's another,
When we submit the minutes, that's like the job of the clerk, but I, in my duties, just took notes and then gave them to you.
right.
So what do you do?
I upload them to the, there's an upload function on the clerk's page. So I have been uploading them.
And it doesn't take somebody to okay it. You're able to do that with your Littleton password. or whatever?
Anybody can do it. Anyone who has access to it.
On the town clerk's page?
There are actually, yes, on the town clerk's, page, or our own pages too. I think there's a button and you submit it, it goes up. Andrew's usually the one that takes care of it and. But I suppose the clerk could check up.
I nominate Andrew.
I second it.
Okay, so we have a Mitt and Linda to Andrew as clerk. Mitt,
Yes.
Linda.
Yes.
Carolyn's a yes. Rob,
Yes.
Sanjay,
Yes.
and Bartlett.
Yes.
Okay. All right. The other thing we need is a signatory.
Right.
We need someone to sign off. We have
Can we
R1
just
bill.
have you do it? Is that a?
Yeah, I think
do
as
that?
long as the committee
Oh, it's-
votes on it, we can just have.
I make a motion that Carolyn be the signatory for the CPC.
I second the motion, and this is Mitt Wanzer.
Mitt,
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Carolyn's a yes, Rob?
Yes.
Sanjay?
Yes.
And Bartlett?
yes,
Yeah, there you are. All right. All right, thank you, everybody. Administrative, I do have some mail. I just got in yesterday, the Community Preservation Coalition. You've heard us talk about the coalition. I should send you their website. It is the annual dues. This is for fiscal year 27. And it's the same amount it was last year, 2,875. And the Community Preservation Coalition is a nonprofit that deals with all things CPA. They have a ton of reports, a ton of information on their website. They keep the database of all projects. They also are a great resource. We've used Stuart Saganor. We've all used him, I think, extensively. I know Bartlett's had a lot of questions and dealings with them. So I think it really is, I mean, we've talked about it every year. We think it's really worth the money. It's higher now because of the amount of revenue that we pull in, but it's still, I think it's paid over the years. So I would like we can have a motion to pay this unless there's any questions.
I make a motion that we pay the dues for the Community Preservation Coalition for fiscal year 27.
2875. In the amount
Thank you.
$2,875.
Thank you, Linda. I second.
Okay. Mitt,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Carolyn's a yes, Rob,
Yes.
Sanjay,
Yes.
and Bartlett.
yes.
Okay, great. I will put that up to content speak. Are there any updates from member? I want to first of all welcome our new Park and Rec representative. Rob Rounce is with us. Kate Jacobson has resigned from Park and Rec, so Rob has taken her place. So we have a new person. So welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Rob.
Thank you.
Any updates or?
So yes, actually a new member and yeah. So we have Park and Recreation has $50,704 approved 2 prior years. Separately, there was original request for a couple of docks. And then there was a supplemental request because of the inflation or some aspect of not changing the project, but just the dollar value of the materials have gone up. So with the transition in leadership at the Park and Rec Department, put it on the agenda last night at the commission meeting, and they're still getting up to speed with regard to it, but we had a good discussion about the project itself. And I wanted to just ask CPC about changes and questions, and I apologize, I've attended a number of your meetings, but don't remember this level of detail. So presented to you and approved by you as well as town meeting was a specific vendor, can dock materials that's consistent with the sailing dock that exists that we see in Long Lake right now. And then there was a presentation with regard to placing 2 additional docks in the Park and Rec or nearby conservation area. So the conversation went along these lines of, wait a minute, maybe we should be considering materials that can stay in Long Lake year round, as opposed to the sailing dock that is removed after being in the water for several months. And so that's one question with regard to, when you approve the project the way it was, is it fine-tuned with regard to that specific vendor, such because they're quotes, that sort of thing? And then a second question involves aspects of, and what if with new leadership, there had been previous discussion, though I don't think it came here, with regard to, is there a need for the center dock? Because the center dock, over a period of time, the water depth has changed from approximately 6 feet within the swim box area to approximately 4.5 feet now. So both questions came up, and I thought that, so that we have direction, need to put it before you, if you can give some feedback as to, what to do in this situation. And I don't have an outcome as to where the department is going or what the commission would say about it, but I think it's enough question mark that want to get it on, in front of you.
Pull up one of the,
Yeah, well, Carolyn's doing that. I think the language of the original article before town meeting matters, and then in this, we've seen in a couple of situations where it's sort of the spirit of, I think especially with Clean Lakes initiatives, it's like, oh, is it a chemical treatment or mechanical? We've learned our lesson, or maybe the petitioners or the applicants have learned their lesson to say, we want $20,000 in support of mitigation for invasive species, and not saying for use of trichlorate or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your application said about the docks, but
would CanDoc be the installer, or is that just the material?
It's the materials. And Jen Davis, who's the interim Park and Rec director, said she's never worked with that. She's worked with, I think, a company by the name of FM that does a different, similar sort of docks, and she has nothing bad to say about CanDoc, that sort of thing. But, and I can go through with regard to specifics, so that I appreciate the feedback, and I recall those Clean Lakes Commission meetings, before you, so.
What's the timeline? I mean, are they thinking of?
So no, it would definitely not be this year.
Okay.
But, because of the November town meeting opportunity,
Yeah.
If we were to redo some aspect or come to time frame before, it's closed, then that would allow it to be put into the water potentially. And the commission did speak on that matter with regard to, the original funds were in 2024, and it's been a very desirable initiative, and the public is still frequently asking about it, and so we're trying to get it. So hence, whether it's in the pipeline or that sort of thing, just appreciate the feedback I've already heard and figure out where to go.
What it says here, this is the 2024 application. We strongly suggesting the CanDoc system because it does locks. So they're not really saying that they want to use, but if we have the time, like you say, I mean, I'd almost rather rescind these and start
I would
over.
too.
Just because it's not even just like this year, it's 3 years from now when they come to us and trying to pay the bills and all, it gets a little messy.
So your preference would be rescind and resubmit?
Yeah,
Okay.
and what's the timeline? Is 3 years, when did the clock start ticking?
well, we would have, let's see, these are dated March of 2024, so it would have been May of 2024. So they'd be 3 years, not that we really,
Yeah, the funds are still around
Yeah.
in order to be rescinded.
yeah.
It's not like the time 3-year period elapsed.
But it will soon, in another
Oh,
year.
and that's again why I wanted to get it before the commission to say, we need to get this done.
But it might be until 2027 that the work is done, it sounds like.
Yes, I would say it won't be before the spring of 2027. If it were to be rescinded, reapproved,
Yeah.
approved by town meeting, the whole sequence.
But you definitely want to do it in the fall because if,
Yeah,
as we
in order to
learn
get
out,
the
we have to be
materials and
careful.
planning,
Yeah,
because there's a lot that goes into it. Expanding that, I will tell you, and you may be familiar with that. Conservation Commission identified 100 violations on Long Lake and some of them involving docks. And I fully expect that by the time that winds its way through select board and so forth, we may in fact find that the desirability of a fishing dock now may be strongly suggested / require ADA compliance, and there's a big slope that has to be dealt with, and we know how slopes can be expensive, et cetera. So the idea, I certainly welcome the feedback, and I hear you rescind and resubmit, and that is to say that the resubmitted may have some different elements that the original one never envisioned.
Yeah.
Rob, I have input or feedback, just purely as a citizen. I think it would be great to have another dock. But if things are now in flux and the gate is open or to new ideas, I think it'd be really neat to have a dock that was more remote from the beach. Because there's a lot of stuff that happens. I'm okay with the sailing going on at the dock, and it is a trailer, so fishermen are gonna bring fisher people are gonna bring their trailers. But it would be cool if there's a community dock where people had kayaks and stuff, that it was more remote and had its own parking spot. And it would be like down, I don't know what the name of the street is, but on the other side of the frog pond, for instance, or something, you know? And then that would liberate the neighbors in the hood to say, you took away my dock, but you know, it's okay. There's a community dock within walking distance of me. And so just keep that in mind, like think outside the box.
Good feedback.
It doesn't have to be on the beach.
Alright, so I guess that's, yeah,
Thank you.
if there are any questions,
Yeah, no, appreciate the time.
Anyone else have any?
I sort of have an update, but it's related to the 410 Great Road, so I think I'll wait till we
Okay,
talk
yeah.
about that.
Bartlett, Sanjay, anything?
I'm good.
No.
Okay. Public input, we have no public. Okay, so then a couple of things left over. One is the Baptist church steeple repair and the possible preservation restriction. I talked with the Baptist church people and they don't have any paperwork either. There's nothing, I looked through the registry of deeds, I don't see a preservation restriction having been filed. Linda, you may be able to speak to this better. There's a new church that has moved into the Baptist church now, and which makes us feel a little bit better, because if they're a church, they'll want to keep the building as is, hopefully, as close to as is as they could. So I guess the question is, do we retroactively want to go through and put a preservation restriction, historic preservation restriction on the work?
So this may be redundant, but if you don't mind, I have notes from a long time ago that I looked up. I think it's from the Community Preservation Coalition about this, that relates to this whole issue. There are options we have. I won't read the whole thing, I'll read some of it. A CPC project involving acquisition of any real property is technically not complete until there's a preservation restriction approved by the appropriate state agency and filed at the registry of deeds. However, this is not an acquisition, so we don't have to have a preservation restriction. When CPC funds are used, that's to purchase. The act is not specific as to whether a preservation restriction is required when CPC money is expended on a historic preservation project. Many towns have chosen to require a preservation restriction when any amount of CPC funds are awarded for rehabilitation or restoration. In some cases, other means of protecting the public interest can be considered. There can be a memorandum of understanding. There can be a threshold amount of CPC funds above which we would require restriction, below which we would not. There's perpetual preservation restrictions for forever, or there's term restrictions that can last whatever period of time we would choose. And then it says here, when it comes to smaller projects for a privately owned resource, the committee may decide to implement a term restriction. However long we think the rehabilitation would last, like 20 years or whatever. So that's kind of all I had, but I mean, I feel we had a conversation with the new church owner, and I felt pretty comfortable that they would not do anything to deter from the historic character of the church. However, I think because this committee did provide funds, we might consider a short-term restriction to make sure that it stays where it is, like it is.
And it would just be the clock.
Yeah, it would just be the
Space.
clock tower,
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have some thoughts on this. I think, thank you for reading that, Linda. That was really helpful, especially when I hear two things. The public's interest is key, and a term, something about the term. And when I look at the clock face, the restoration was to not the clock innards, the clock's not functional, but that wasn't part of the work. They restored the face, which is pretty limited just to that. The church is vinyl sided, I think, and underneath it, there's probably pretty good carpentry. I'm not worried about it.
Wood, we don't know.
We don't know. But I think in terms of the public interest, the condition of the clock face is great. You look up at it and it's still pristine. Really good job. It's black and gold. And so I think the public's interest has been served well by this smallish grant with a limited focus. And then the term issue is that it's been 10 years at least. And so I don't think it's fair to the new owners or whoever it may be. I think it's our bad that it didn't happen. I'm sorry it didn't. But it doesn't kind of matter at this point, because if another 10 years goes by and the paint needs redoing, it seems just that there's like an opportunity to do another project and restore it again. But I think it might last longer than that. So I'm willing to let it go as a matter. And I'd encourage people, the new owners, to think about reapplying to get the clock working again, because there's work to do on the innards that would be really good for a professional, and they're all there. I don't know, they're intact, but they're just not working. I've seen the inside of the steeple and it's really precious. It's nice. It's a real antique clock, and it would serve the public well to have it restored. So I wouldn't want to create like some friction by requiring a clawback of a deed restriction. I'd sort of hope that maybe they would, or somebody in town would say, we need a clock tower again. We need a more pretty downtown common. We need trees. We need to remove all the power lines. The common is a really precious parcel of land, but it's not really well cared for or pretty to look at. And there's tons of money we'd spend on putting the power lines underground, planting trees, getting the clock working again, building sidewalks. There's no sidewalk in front of Pub on the Common. There's horrible parking there. There's big chunks of stone, and it's like there's no crosswalk to get from the Common. Well, there is one, but it's at the traffic light.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if you're listening out there, please come to us. We have money in the historic fund.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, Sanjay.
I know we are talking about the restrictions. Is there a particular repair being considered at this time, or are we want to restrict to?
No, it's, actually the repair was done in 2011. It just came, how did it come up?
I don't know.
I think it came up when the church was possibly going to be sold. So they're not looking to do any more repairs, any more work right now. I mean, this new church is just moving in and, I'm not really sure. I
Okay.
can't remember how it came up.
I don't
Okay.
disagree with anything Mitch said. The only thing is I might look into how long a new clock face is supposed to last. You know, if it's only 10 years, then we've met the 10 years. If it's 20 years, maybe another 10 years, possibly for a restriction. But I do hear what you're saying. I wouldn't want to put a big onus on the new owners either.
Yeah, if we could find the paperwork, like the contract. I thought maybe when they were going through their files, they might come across something, but they had some information, but it was more like just what we had was newspaper articles in the actual application. I don't know, we wanna think about it some more and,
I don't think there's a rush.
yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing, like you're saying, you know, if they wanna come back to us, it's the old church and state.
That's-
That's gonna be the hard part.
I think other towns have since funded
Yes.
churches. You think
Yeah,
that's true.
they
Since-
have. I think, was it Trinity Church or so, one of those big churches in Boston just did a huge CPA project. I think after the Acton court case, it was mostly left up to your local town councils. And ours at the time was kind of leery about it and said, no, we shouldn't do it. But
We could
I think
revisit
that it
that.
could always be revisited, especially now that there are some bigger projects going on.
Can I say one more?
And there's more precedent from other
Other
towns since
towns.
that time as well. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also local precedent. The Congregational Church had a project with us. And the merits of that project were to restore stained glass windows, not because they were religious or about some Christian thing. It was because they were naming the people who had lived in the town and served in the church in a very public function. So each window had a really important name attached to it of town people. So I think it was, I think that was a solid.
But that was
We didn't
right
approve-
at the time.
We didn't approve that, did we?
The second phase, because they wanted to come in for the second phase, and that was right when the court case
We
came
got a little
along.
We did the first phase, but not this, right? We did some windows on one side,
Yeah.
or not the windows on the other, because the Acton court case came in
Yeah. Which was kind of stinky, but, you know. All right, well, we'll continue to think about the Baptist church, but I won't put it on the agenda unless we, historical commission or whatever decides to
Okay.
talk about it. So the next item is the Affordable Housing Trust, possible requirements for 10 Great Road or the Conant Houghton Mill. I know Bartlett, you had mentioned that, you may have enough money in your elected fund that you may not need to come back. Do you want to talk a little? Well, first of all, we should talk about the project. I sent everybody some notes from the planning board. It's also gone to select board, I believe. The Lupoli Company is going to hopefully partner with Hebrew Senior Life, a nonprofit organization that this is what they do. They create affordable senior housing. And it sounds like a good partnership. I mean, this is kind of probably what we need. So it's going to be at the Conant Houghton Mill, which they will tear down, which is the sad part of the whole thing. And they actually, the last planning board meeting, they had schematics of what it may, first go around. So Affordable Housing Trust, of course, is in on this, and happy to turn this over to Bartlett if you want to say anything more about it or tell us where we're at with the project. But Bartlett, you're on mute.
Okay. My internet connection is unstable. I don't know if you hear me
Yeah.
clearly.
We can now, yeah.
It's going to be 86 units. The town is strongly suggested to contribute some money which would come from the Affordable Housing Trust. I have really no idea what they're expecting. I'm thinking that it's going to be in the ballpark of $250,000, which we certainly can do. We may ask for some money later. I mean, I don't know. We haven't really talked about how this is going to work because we don't know what number. But we may possibly ask for money in the future to make that up if we have, some other big project. So, I mean, the planning board was very happy to get 86 units when we had asked for 40.
Good, and it's nice to actually be creating housing with housing money. That's the one thing we haven't really been able to do yet. So that's I mean, the state's going to be happy about that.
I mean, we are in the process of writing a check to Habitat for $50,000 to do the Tehatawan Road house. And we're gonna give them another $50,000 later in the construction process. So, I mean, the Housing Trust is starting to spend money, which means we're gonna probably be asking for more.
So is the Tehatawan Roadhouse, did they get all their permits and all their permissions to build?
I believe they have a building permit. I believe so. I think the clearing the brush is going to be this summer, and construction will start in probably with the school year.
Another nice feather in CPA's cap, because that land was purchased with CPA money, the Brown property, and so that's kind of a nice full circle there. Okay, so we'll just hang tight on that also, Bartlett, until we hear otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's the best. It's the only thing I can think of is because I don't know any specifics.
Okay.
So can we talk about it? So the Littleton Historical Commission last week had a meeting and we discussed this project. And one thing that was recommended is that a photo gallery be included somewhere in the project of the mill history, because there's a lot of history. It's very interesting, has a long history. And we would like to recommend that to the planning board. So I was going to discuss it tonight with Jeff and Bartlett, but we can appear if you want before the planning board, or you guys can bring it back to the planning board if that's something you're interested in.
I think on the plans, we pulled.
Yeah, I think, the planning board certainly consider,
I think other mills.
He probably has plans, but for demolition, he hasn't documented probably very much.
I think
So,
other mills.
Linda, what kind of documentation would you be looking for?
Well, we have photos. The society, the Littleton Historical
Yeah.
Society has photos, and then we could write up little blurbs to go with the photos. I think other mills around the state and around the country have this type of thing.
Okay.
If you've ever seen the ones down at the train station, down at the commuter rail platform, we did those when that was created, that has, little photographs and little blurbs. So, but I think Napoli is definitely planning on putting it there. It's on the plan.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We talked about that at the commission meeting.
Yeah, I thought, anyway, okay, that's great.
Yeah, so that would be
Yeah,
nice.
he's proposing a little park next to Great Road that it's going to have some kind of a monument in it.
What would the monument be for? For the mill?
Just
for something?
Commemorating the mill building, and
Okay.
this is the location of a lot of Littleton's history kind of thing.
Right, okay, that's great. Carol, I remember us talking about the
I'm
park at the.
sure that he's
last
open to
meeting. Remember that
suggestions.
the photo gallery was part of it.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
great, that's
all right.
great.
So, yeah.
Good to know. Thank you.
All right, so Bartlett, we'll just wait. If you need that back on an agenda, just let me know, but I don't think we need to carry it until we actually have. Just wanted to let people know what was going on.
Just some quick questions. So
Yep, okay.
do we have a number? What's the expectation? What's the funding expectation here? Or we don't?
We do not have a number of what the town contribution is supposed to be. They just want, a financial contribution. And so, it hasn't gotten any more specific than that. I did ask various other things, and there was a convention in Worcester a couple of weeks ago, and I asked her, and she said ballpark $250,000. She thought that was reasonable. So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be.
And Sanjay, this was before your time, but we used to kind of do like a fund dump to the Affordable Housing Trust. So they had, Bartlett's $1 million or so, right, that you have in funds.
Right. We do have about $1 million.
So they have kind of a savings account that it's permissible under CPA to have affordable housing have a fund of their own that has been voted in by town meeting as a CPA funding bucket. And they can go and as long as it's a CPA allowable project, they can spend that as they want. We kind of put a stop to that. Your committee, the finance committee, didn't really care for the way we were doing that. So we've been more funding projects that they have done, but they've had that pot of money that they'll be spending down. And then we
Right.
report that to the state as CPA projects.
Gotcha. So if the request were to be coming from the this effort, so then the fund would be coming from this $1 million bucket.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
We just accumulated that because real estate is expensive, and we thought there would be some point where we'd have to move fast, not wait for town meeting. So we have been accumulating money for this purpose, and we're now starting to spend it.
Oh, makes sense. Thank you.
Good.
Any other questions on that? All right, so Bartlett, we'll just take that off the agenda, but if you need it back on, just let me know. The next one, again, is the same kind of thing, funding for lake projects in anticipation of any future requests. But Rob, you're probably best to know this. So I was trying to figure out, did conservation, so they took away the Clean Lakes Committee budget line item. It's now wrapped into conservation. Was there a specific line item in the conservation budget for lake-related activity?
You're still a member, so.
I don't know the answer though.
So they've done several, and I think you've heard discussion here with Dave Barr presenting or John Folsom, aspects of management plans. They've started to move into management plans as opposed to project-specific endeavors, whether it's eco-harvesting or alkicide, herbicide, that sort of thing. So my gut is that my recollection is they were moving in that way in order to be responsive to the public and the concept of not try this, but rather have a more comprehensive plan and set the stage for, we're doing this because it aligns with a professional that gave us guidance. I do think you're going to continue to see, requests for the Lake Southern Spec Pond. The Littleton Water Department continues to fund Spec Pond quite nicely, or at least so far. That's been the case, but the others do kind of use up their funds with regularity, and you know, I just heard in the last 2 weeks how I'm concerned about the Apple man that we're gonna get some feedback with regard to the outside treatments a little bit late or long late, sort of thing, which just points to how nature is doing its thing and it needs to be, there needs to be responsive action that's intentional and hopefully successful, but more coming is what I'm trying to say, although how it's gonna go, I think is gonna be led by that management plan.
Yeah,
So I don't know if this is what you meant, Carolyn, but are you asking if the Conservation Commission has a budget for lakes?
yes. Actually,
Oh.
Sanjay, do you know, is there like specific line, I mean, their expenses are not very high, so I kind of guess not, but do you remember, is there like something specific for conservation for lakes?
Not on top of my head. Gonna go back and take a look at it.
Okay,
Yeah, thanks for the redirect.
yeah,
I
yeah,
believe there was a $10,000 that was approved
right,
out of the town budget. There was a couple different pieces. One was in the highway department budget, and then there was $10,000 specifically by the select board. I think in the last town meeting, that was switched from the Clean Lakes Committee
Right.
responsibility to Conscom. Having
Ah.
said that, I do not recall there being any additional budget line item to continue, rather, they were just transitioning the 10,000 from Clean Lakes to the
Right.
conservation.
so is that 10,000 part of FY 27's budget, so they have $10,000 to spend on like invasives if they wanted to?
That
Yeah, I
can't
guess that's
speak
what
to.
Sanjay, that's kind of what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah.
No, that's all right,
Some that raises hand too.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think 10,000. I don't think $10,000 is gonna go very
Right.
far
No,
in future.
Yeah,
And so if that sets a precedent, that's unfortunate in terms of cash, but the other thing that was sort of established and I think is more positive is that there's certain hours of the conservation office that is dedicated to lakes related matters. So in terms of permitting and stuff like that, stuff that the water department used to do because of their, their impressive staff and resources, they were able to manage a lot of stuff having to do with permitting and whatever and science. I think that's gonna now fall under the conservation agent. And that role in town needs to be supported robustly as a salaried professional because the turnover has been killing us. And we've had really good, like seriously intelligent, well-educated, science-based people working for the town and then quickly like moving to some other town or resigning or saying, I want a promotion. And so I think, so it's something that I hope will get a lot of support. It would be worth Littleton's money to pay their conservation officer well and also make sure that they're comprehensive in their duties to pay attention not just to land issues but also water issues.
I agree.
yeah,
I have another thing that's on my mind when I see the agenda item. In anticipation of future project requests, I think I attend the Clean Lakes Committee meetings with about as much regularity as I do these meetings. So I'm not really up to date on all the fine details, but it's really hard. The work that the Clean Lakes Committee is doing is really good, and the people are putting in a lot of time and really know their stuff. Pond specific, different invasives, can name all the, I can't, but they can name all the plants and stuff and say what's going on. But the thing that I take away when I am integrating it is that it's really a moving target, and I think it's very unsure what will happen in the future. They're going to come to us, I predict, in a year or two and say, we need like twice as much as you've given us in the past. And I've been feeling like we need to make it half and have other people in town step forward. But other people in town are not stepping forward. They're managing it well and saying how we should conduct business. And we have good financial advice from, I can't recall who's been attending our meetings recently.
Water department
No.
staff member.
No, our finance guy, who's volunteering at every single meeting. Anyway, so we have good advice about how to manage the money, but it's not clear where it's gonna come from, I think.
Well, I think that's what worries me a little bit, is that we become the sole funding source. And I mean, CPA is not supposed to supplant municipal funding, so I can see if we help out with certain projects, I don't have a problem with that, but if we all of a sudden realize that, they're getting $200,000 every year from us and us only, then we become the Clean Lakes funding mechanism, and we're not anybody else's complete mechanism for funding.
Except for housing.
Yes, which is its own
Category,
category.
right?
Well, your point's a good one, and it's not necessarily new. This has been kind of
Yeah.
percolating
Yeah,
over the last couple of years. I think it's all a question mark
Mhm.
of sorts,
yeah.
but
And I think like what you were saying, that those lake management plans will help us tremendously, because then we can see what
yeah.
the roadmap is.
The other part that I found myself when, prior to tonight being here is I think you folks have done a great job trying to obtain information with regard to questions of maintenance and really discussing. You put in a lot of time on the subject. I find myself interested in always pushing to the select board or the town administrator for, okay, how about some clarity? What is your plan? Or finance, committee with regard to what is the plan? We're obligated to fulfill the CPA, and yet projects come before that start to get into what I believe has been discussed the last couple of years about this. And I'm always for, so it's a great question, so let's deal with the question,
Yeah.
let's deal directly with each other and not have CPC feel like we have to do it because we're it.
Yeah,
And rather just talk about the aspect of, you just expressed. If we're the sole that concerns you, I think that's reasonable. So maybe we look for, can we see identification beyond, there's Park and Recreation Commission that's got a fee structure, but it's very minimal at this point. But there are attempts to gain additional funding sources, but I think the bigger one is the one in the actual town budget. And if the town wants to embrace this, maybe it's appropriate, I think, to at least ask the question.
yeah. I think
What about other towns fund lake projects? Maybe that's something to look into.
Mhm.
I recall the name Mark Rombacher has been at our meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
yes.
And Mark has been, it's not an appointed position, it's not elected, it's not its own committee. He's just volunteered to get as an advisor, pretty much, to say what can, what is happening in this department, what's happening in this department, what do you recommend? He's done that for a year or two.
Yeah.
As we sort of, and I thought it was the understanding that this was sort of a role that would help us bridge over to a new model.
And I think that's true. I think he did that as a liaison from the select board that was specifically tasked to him. And I think Karen Morrison is also served in that capacity, but Mark's definitely played a big role. Yeah, so I think we can have
invite Karen
those
and Mark.
discussions, and should you care to do that?
Yeah. No, I think now that it's starting to disappear, I think I'd be more apt to ask.
Okay.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that before?
Well, do we have anything coming up to town meeting? Are we asking for the town to approve Clean Lakes money on the next docket? Or is it all been in
Well,
the spring?
Budget, yeah, I mean, it'll just be the next budget, which will start shortly, and it's budget round for spring town meeting, but Clean Lakes has not come to us yet with anything.
Is there much happening for fall town meeting?
I know just one other, I was gonna on their pipeline, just one, But-
Okay, well, then that's good. That gives us some time.
yeah. Okay. The next thing, I think I sent you guys the, community preservation plan that's like really outdated. In fact, the notes are mine from like 2 different years, I think. I mean, we keep talking about, I think every year you're supposed to update your plan. You're supposed to have a community hearing. I just found minutes from the last community hearing when nobody came. Which is, I think,
Like tonight.
yeah, well, I mean, the regular meetings I can understand. And I'm certainly not proposing to have a hearing, although the only thing I was thinking was the, Charter Commission on your last public forum was more of an open house. And I thought, thinking outside the box, maybe we could have I was thinking having it over the library from 10 to 12 on a Saturday and just have, hey, do you know what CPA is? I wish the meeting room was on the top floor rather than the bottom floor, because you'd have more people wandering out. We could have some boards up of what we've done, who we are. And that's just a thought, but I mean, we're supposed to do it, but we haven't done it in years, and I don't think every town does them every year.
I like that idea. I know haven't you done the 01460 podcast prior to,
No.
okay, so that would be another opportunity
Yeah.
and use the town newsletter. If my recommendation would be if we like this idea to start to discuss a when, in addition to you proposed, which I think say great ideas.
Yeah.
And that way we could start to encourage people who have interest to start to plan for it
Right,
a
and.
month or two in advance, so
Yeah.
make sure you come.
Right.
So,
And then what I was thinking with the plan is do it in really small, I mean, we have all year we haven't done it in 11 years, so it's, but maybe we could do just a section every month, kind of just so we're not overwhelmed, but just kind of try to chip away at it, because I always think we should have it out on our website. We pay the coalition all these dues and we don't really do what they say we should. And, fun months we don't get to it, I don't think it's a big deal, but.
I think it's a great idea. I think there's awareness, like the Shaker, there's been a number of things, and we hear at the town meetings, people saying your taxes are too, so it is a form of a tax, and so identifying how it's used and involvement with regard to feedback, other than just the town meeting, sort of events. I think it's a great idea.
And I think as we have all discovered, I mean, for a long time, CPA went under the radar until we tried to raise the percentage. When we started talking about that, more and more people know what the CPA is. And I guess along those lines, I talked to one of the library trustees, and they have for new members, thinking of, and I thought of this when Sanjay was here last year too, is trying to put a packet together for new members. And the planning board just, I think talked about it maybe at their retreat or something, and they had a document that they passed out at their last meeting of an example from another town, which we could probably use for the structure. And I don't know, it was really ambitious a couple months ago, and I started putting something together. But, Tony Souza did the Citizens Academy last year. I thought, something like that, if people want to know, we could put it on our website. So maybe that's, we can kind of do these things in slow tandem. If anyone has any ideas for those, send them along.
I have some ideas
Good.
we can talk about, yeah.
So that's just kind
I'd
of,
also like to see the application. I looked in your notes for the plan. It's a little left up and there's a couple things and question marks, and this is outdated. And it's been, we really need a different application process, I think, too. The paper application doesn't get really used as a get out a ballpoint pen and fill it out.
Yeah, now more people are doing them online. We do have a fillable form, which is
Oh, good.
out on the website. Just have, I think it works still. So we do have that.
I gotta look at that, and then maybe
Yeah.
that'll be something to revise as well.
Yeah, because it was one thing we had talked about, with the whole, when are the funds available? Are they available immediately after town meeting or in July 1st? And we said, well, maybe that should be a question, you know, do you need your funds right away? So that could be added to the form. So I don't think that's probably not written anywhere,
But
but
legally, we still have to work on that, right, with town, whoever, finance, lawyers, whatever.
I think what they did, I mean, that's what they did last year when they, you know, we had that separate section that spelled out that it was coming from FY20.
Oh, and so that's okay to continue going
I'm
forward.
assuming that's
Okay.
what town council came up with.
I see,
so.
okay.
But your point's a good one, that the form itself, to get the person to really tell us, so there's not
Yeah.
miscommunication. That was really, I think, the great learning lesson, and you
Yeah.
thread the needle and got it done.
Yeah.
Very much
Yeah.
appreciate it.
There's a lot of scrambling. So yeah, there's definitely things on that form too that maybe don't make as much sense as they used to. It also, I think, has Keith Berkeley's name on it or something, so. So I'll look at it and see if we can break it up, and maybe for the next meeting, we can, at least like the introduction, the first couple of pages. And
I'm,
again-
I was just curious here. When I'm looking at this original plan, there are some things, critical things that are missed or maybe added over a period of time, but not updated. I don't know. For example, recreation is not in one of the main purposes. So, I mean, you know, we have been kind of supporting the recreation, but not in the original plan itself. It's just a little bit perplexed.
Yeah, so that again is, when we did the plan in 2016, recreation, I don't think was, a bucket. So what they did was they added it to open space. So it's really open space and recreation. And Littleton, I think by policy, said we'll break that out and give recreation its own budget, its own 10%. But that was before this plan was made. So yeah, you're right. Our written policy doesn't really mirror what we're doing. They did, why was that meant? They put in recreation because there were towns that couldn't use a lot of community housing, but they really needed like, you know, towns that have a lot of land needed more recreation help than, say, community housing. And I think that's why they added recreation to the
Yeah, in
statute.
order to pass the amendment, it was made attractive to places like Worcester that has a great need for recreation dollars, but doesn't have a lot of open space
Yeah.
projects potentially.
So, yeah, so it is kind of funny when you look at what we say, it's not how we practice. So,
But it's still not a requirement. It is,
Yeah.
it's an allowable expenditure, but it doesn't have the 10%.
right, but I think Littleton had decided that we would make it a separate 10%. Yeah, and we had that savings and spending plan that's just missing. And I think, because I think that was just about when Sam and I came on the board, you guys were talking about that. Yeah, so things like that, Sanjay, we definitely need to make it look like how we're running things now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not only the language, right? It's just what we do and what's there is very different even in terms
Right.
of, you know, the composition of the team. What's spec'd out in the plan is very different than what we currently have. So,
It's funny what 11 years will do, huh? All right, well then that sounds like a goal for us for this year. Projects in the pipeline. I talked to Diane Corey yesterday, and I think she's gonna come forth with, a project. She talked about it at the select board meeting this last Monday. They had, some question, at the picnic in Fay Park. There was someone who wasn't able to join the picnic because they, have mobility issues. And Fay Park is not handicap accessible by much of a stretch. So there will at some point, Park and Rec is, planning on a big project, a big capital project, but that may not come to fruition for another 4 or 5 years, I guess. It's been pushed down to maybe 2030, I heard, something like that. So what Diane is gonna propose is, not permanent, temporary, but not, will be, probably have to be undone when they do the bigger project. But it's, putting in a walkway of sorts from the parking lot of the fire station up like on the ridge going behind the gazebo with some, accessible seating, accessible picnic tables. And, just trying to, get it so more people can use Fay Park. So, as she said, it's really expensive, like everything, like the picnic table, she says like $2,500 for the picnic table, which is ridiculous, but, so she's gonna come in with a project for fall, and she wants to be able to do, the disability committee has to, she said, if they get a complaint, they have to act on it, they have to make it right. So it will be, something that, she just has to, talk to all the people that use Fay Park.
I wonder, could the Eagle Scouts build a picnic table if they have supervision to make it compliant with whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
For $2,500, they were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know,
right,
it's
exactly.
just- I mean,
Did she give you a dollar figure?
she was thinking like 200,000.
Yeah, I heard 220.
Yeah. She's, this is just, she hasn't gotten any quotes yet. It'll have to go out for bid, all that, but I can't remember how she said she got
Yeah.
that.
So there was, in the select board, she did talk, and maybe when she's here, she can talk about the transition plan that was just presented and accepted by the select board in Monday night's meeting. And then there's a self-assessment report that has some dollar figures. And she went on to say how there's state funding available for like $250,000 per year. But then I started to hear if we did 250 from the state and maybe 250 per year from CPC, 500,000, and so much like the Clean Lakes discussion, we might want to put in the context or notify her, let's talk in terms of where you're at from a directional, from an ongoing thing, because that sort of dollar amount on an annual basis for some period of time, and I suspect there are many aspects that need to be done. I think it has to be, all the transition plan, I think has to be done within a 5-year period, and the transition plan wasn't due until 2028, I'm quite confident, but we're 2 years ahead of that. I don't know whether that starts the 5-year period, but nonetheless, it's a kind of a short-term thing for a lot of big accessibility issues that public will, benefit from, but to comment, Linda, nothing comes cheap, in terms of these are big dollars.
Well, even we found that with the conservation boardwalk projects last year, they all have a accessibility, thinking more of accessibility now, which is the right thing to do.
Getting ice skating going in Fay Park again, that's about the cheapest thing you can do. And it's great recreation, good fun.
Yeah, I guess there are a lot of interesting ideas.
You just gotta dump a bunch of water out there and let nature do its thing.
And Rob, you might know this. Do you know when the warrant closes? I have it written
It's either
somewhere.
September 11th or 13th. I haven't checked the calendar. but
September 11th.
It's something.
It is.
It's one of those
I knew it
two
was,
dates.
I know it was a date that was,
Now, having said it, my understanding is that's kind of like a soft close. It's like get the articles proposed for the warrant,
Right.
but that's not to say that they can't be fine tuned,
Right,
before it goes to print.
right.
Sort of.
Yeah, because that would be obviously before our September meeting. I mean, that's coming up. That's only in 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
September 11th, this is, yeah, so the 11th, the 16th would be our
So
meeting.
maybe want to meet again before then, if possible.
Yeah, maybe. So I'll let people know that we have an August meeting, we have September, but that's it.
Yikes.
But she's doing, I mean, the impression I have is she's really been attentive to it.
Yeah,
As soon as the complaint came in, she's right on top of it.
Yeah, she sounded like-
That's the
yeah.
Ken with regard to being responsive.
So, yeah, it almost sounded like she might be ready for our next meeting to get.
I'm thinking though, there might be other projects we don't know about
Right.
yet, that we might want to have an extra meeting in August before September 11th.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
That happens a lot
Yeah.
lately.
I think I have a list of people I usually, hey, FYI. Especially if we want them, again, they come in especially if they come in that September meeting, the warrant is already closed and we have questions, you don't have much time between the warrant closing and when they have to get the booklets printed and all, so. Quick turnaround, okay.
Are there any other projects in the pipeline?
That's all I know of. Nothing part-
So certainly keep in mind the Park and Rec mentioned the docks.
Docks, yes.
I can't promise that it's coming, but I think there's a lot of momentum. to
Yeah.
Make something happen.
Yep. That's our ear to the ground. Anything else before we adjourn? Bartlett, you all set?
Good, thanks.
Okay. And goes off camera. The next meeting would be, what did I just said it, I've already forgotten it. August 19th. Ah, that's
Problem.
Peach Social.
Also, it can't be August 19th, right?
Dude, this happened last year. So we used to have the Peach Social on Thursday. Well, let's put it down August 19th and I'll see what. Cause it's such a pain to get to another day. Are Tuesdays or Thursdays good for, oh, I might not be home on that Tuesday. Like August 20th, Thursday as a backup.
That might
I mean,
be
you guys
better
can
for
meet.
me. I'm not sure I can make the 19th.
Well, I'll put it out too. Let me just double check to see if the 19th is. And you can do Thursdays in the summer?
Yeah,
Is that
I
still
can do
good for
August,
you
not
to do?
September.
Okay. All right, well, we'll be in touch by check with Andrew and Sam. Any last thoughts? Not? Wants to,
Linda, will you make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
no. I guess I'll let Nick, but Rob really was there first. Met. Jeez, getting cheeky in
I
this.
did it for AI. I want to thank the computer for taking notes tonight.
Yeah,
And I also want to respectfully and seriously say, Rob, you've been so committed to the town and you showed up so many of our meetings in earnest. And now you're the real deal. Aptly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
that's good when people have other interests too, to be able to help. All right, so Mitt, are you gonna vote to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay, Linda?
Yes.
Carol's a yes, Rob?
Yes.
Bartlett? Sanjay?
Yes.
And Mrs. Bartlett's frozen, but I'm gonna assume you yes. All right, thank you, everyone.